I think ever since Razer released the Viper Mini, there has been this obsession for the pursuit of smaller and lighter gaming mice. The peripherals community and users buy a lot of these mice, and the marketing team loves selling it, to the point where companies have no longer considered them small but mini. So I spent the last year down a journey of using small gaming mice to see if it would improve my aim. Would it make my aim faster, lighter, more stable, less stable? And what are the drawbacks to having smaller gaming mice?
Had a feeling we had something. Could have seen it in your eyes. Took a second, but I'm right here, waiting for you. Open arms. How about you coming closer? We can do my place.
Mike, that
Can try needing
chamber out.
Last player standing.
78.
I'll be forever thinking about
One enemy remaining.
Nice.
Yo, that's intros, bro.
Tell me what you want to know. Run your fingers down
Can't see. This is so old. Oh, watch you.
Oh, you're the ghost.
Player standing.
Yo, I couldn't hear my aim.
One enemy remaining. 30 seconds left.
There's no problem.
Are we back to the start?
remaining.
I can play the
Player
game,
standing.
but I'm falling again. No, don't hold back, take it far. Promise you the same, let the pleasure begin. How about you coming closer?
Bro, this guy is
Winnable, winnable, winnable.
Can try needing the side you be safe.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
I'll be forever thinking about you and me. I don't wanna let you go. I don't wanna let you go. Tell me what you want to know. Run your fingers down me slow. 'Cause you're in my head. You are. 'Cause you're in my head. 'Cause you're in my. I don't wanna let you go. I don't wanna let you go. Tell me what you want to know. Run your fingers down me slow. 'Cause you're in my head.
No way. One more. On site. Okay, David. Okay, David.
You wanted to end?
That does. One more elbow.
Elbow.
So, what is considered a small mouse? Is it the weight of the mouse? Is it the mass of the mouse? Is it the length and width? Well, from my experience, it seems to be the width of the mouse, specifically the grip point in which I grip the mouse. Typically, mice have a curve. I like to call it the hip, but this is where the mouse designers expect you to place your thumb. But depending on your aim style, your grip style, and even the mouse shape, there are different points in which you might prefer to grab the mouse. This can highly affect the feel of the mouse. As you move your grip towards the rear of the mouse, you're using more of a fingertip style grip, allowing for more micro adjustments. But on the downside, you're throwing around more weight, and typically the rear of the mouse flares out a little wider. While on the other side, moving your grip to the front allows the rear to lock into your palm a bit more, allowing for more stability, but harder micro adjustments. And all this doesn't even account for sensor position, which can also highly affect the feel of the mouse. So, how was my experience using small gaming mice over the last year? The first thing I realized was definitely speed. I felt more agile the smaller the mouse got, but there were two side effects to this. Either I felt less stable after a flick, or I started cramping. I really had to warm up before each session, and from time to time, I would have to switch my grip style up. I did find though that after doing exercise, playing sports, washing dishes, or just doing hand exercises before playing helps a lot when you're using a small gaming mice. The cause for this might have been me lowering my sensitivity to make up for the stability that I lost as I moved to smaller gaming mice. Moving to lower sensitivities meant I had to use different parts of my muscles for different parts of gameplay. A large flick or moving around would have to be my entire arm, and wrist flicks were now micro adjustments, compared to before where I would use my fingertip to micro adjust. This could prove quite fatiguing over longer sessions of play, but I did find myself moving back to a more normalized sensitivity over the last year, though I really had to warm up before playing or else I would feel super stiff and clunky during my first few games that day. So, there are 3 gaming mice I want to talk about today, the ones I clocked the most hours in, and 2 honorable mentions that I originally did clock a lot in but felt like it didn't need to be part of my rotation. The first mouse probably isn't a surprise. It's the zeromouse by Optimum. This mouse had the highest aim potential. I made a whole separate video talking about this mouse, but it is the closest I felt to pure input. There are some quirks I dislike about this mouse, but in general, it is a very fun mouse to use, especially on a glass pad, but as someone who prefers the stopping power of cloth mouse pads, it is a little harder for me to fully enjoy. The second mouse I want to talk about today is the Zygen NP01S, the Ergo small mouse. Every time I pick this up, it is still one of the most solid feeling mouses I've used to date. I do have 3 minor gripes about this mouse though. Firstly, the side buttons. I wish the buttons were bigger, I wish they protruded a little bit more, and the gap between the 2 buttons was more noticeable. They feel like they're part of the mouse more than actual buttons on the side of the mouse. The weight of this mouse at 69 grams is a little heavier than the rest of the small mice on the market, but it's never a deal breaker, it just doesn't feel as good as the lightweight mice. They recently seem to have released a NP01S version 2 that seems to have fixed the side buttons with the mouse, and not that I really noticed, but moved the cursor position to be more centered. Something I'm interested in, but not sure if I would pick up, as import fees and shipping fees to Canada is a little bit expensive. Now, you might have all seen this coming, but the Endgame Gear OP1 line of mice is the most solid in basically every way. It is built solid like the NP10S, but 20 grams lighter, cheaper, and easier to find, has better specs. It's hard to beat this in terms of value. I spent an absurd amount of time with the OP1 8K variant, not just with shooters and games of other genres, but also just everyday tasks. 8000 Hz and one of the lowest click latency mouse on the market, you can game worry-free and blame your teammates instead of input lag. And if you're looking for a cheap wireless option, the OP1WE is great, with the only concern being slightly heavier clicks, but that can be easily hot swapped with one of Endgame Gear's switch packs, and the internals of the mouse are easy to get into with the 2 visible screws at the bottom of the mouse. My partner has been using this mouse stock and has had 0 complaints. Now for the first honorable mention, the HitScan Hyperlight. I don't own this mouse anymore as I sold it to a friend, but the flatter sidewalls and the slightly higher sidewalls near the clicks do accommodate for a lot more people, and I think if you like the original Razer Viper Mini shape, go give the Hyperlight a try, because it's gotten a ton of positive reviews online and I'm sure a lot of people could like it, but I personally found that the other mice I have mentioned today are just a little above that. And the final mouse I will be talking about today is the Final Mouse ULX Medium. Did anyone get that joke? I really do like the feel of the ULX. It has grooves on the clicks, unlike the other mice I have mentioned. It has really good weight to volume ratios. But I found that horizontal movements were a little harder to do. The ULX Cheetah, their small variant, is a little better at this, but it is way too small for my hands, and I cramp up way too easily. So, although I personally use grip width to determine whether or not a gaming mouse is small, there are gaming mice out there that have a pretty wide grip width but are still considered small. So at the end of the day, It really is up to your hand size and the volume of the mouse to determine whether or not a gaming mouse is small for you. But to conclude, yes, smaller gaming mice has improved my aim and my experience playing shooters. But that isn't without some benefits and drawbacks. Smaller mice, from my experience, do offer better speed and agility. Smaller mice is by definition lighter, therefore uses less force to accelerate and has less inertia, making it feel faster and more agile. But the cost of more speed and agility is often consistency and stability. I have found that only through time and effort put into learning how to control the muscles do the precision and benefits of small gaming mice begin to show.